Like,
oh yeah, nice. This is good. This is good. This is shared media. This is exactly what I want to get to. I'm like, then there's like different. You're already distributing the pieces of the puzzle. You know what I mean?
exactly. Oh man,
For history to be like,
precisely.
oh, where's that guy?
It's an automatic collaboration. Like, wait a
Yeah,
minute, hold on, the call
yeah,
just ended, but
yeah.
there's another call and it's over there. Like, ah,
In
it
another
feels.
cave.
Well, this is another game. Well, there's So I've been talking. I was talking to one of these nerds about this. I don't know what the fuck to call it, right? So I've been working on this like way of documenting conversations,
Oh,
more
great.
more or less,
Oh,
right? And the way
nice.
in which did you ever see that thing that what the fuck is it? David he did a talk with Jordan Hall not too long ago
Rudd,
about
was it?
project liminality. Yeah,
Rug also? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I did watch a bit of
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, when I listened to his talk, I'm like, okay, he's working on it too. I talked
Mm,
to Eric Harris Braun about it.
mm,
Like he's got it. Whatever the thing is that
mm,
is like, how do we like document communication in
mm,
such a way,
mm,
right? And like the intersection of like who we're in dialogue with, what's the particular content, and what are the
mhm,
ways or which in the pattern upon which those dialogues are built,
mm,
right? You know, sometimes we're in an explicit
mm,
pattern.
mm,
Right now we're in this freestyle space.
mm,
But even that freestyle space might have a pattern to it that we could
mm,
label it with, right? It
mhm,
might have a specific vibe.
mm,
But anyway, I was talking to these fucking zero knowledge nerds about it, and they were saying like, "Oh yeah, well if you can break anything down to like its most constituents parts,
mm,
and these three parts are the most fundamental, right? Who you're talking to, what you're talking about, how you're talking to them with it. They're
mm,
like, well, you can turn that into a mathematical proof and make these zero knowledge proofs to encrypt all of this shit and like make it like super double plus top secret. Um,
uh-huh.
Fuck if I know. But this idea of like having the thing as like creating an artifact that makes
Right.
it both like somehow indexable, like somehow you can
Mm,
search that,
yeah.
and yet at the same time somehow completely secure from fucking extraction,
Mm,
like so that like conceivably it would be possible for another person to like find the thing that we're talking about, and then
mm,
by looking for that to go, hey, has
mm.
anybody been up on that, has anybody been talking about that, to find
Yeah.
an answer that yes there are people, but no, you like, in order to get the information of who those people are,
You have to
you might
like,
have to fucking
yeah,
go on a
yeah.
quest,
Mm,
right?
mm,
You might
mm,
have
mm, mm.
to show
Nice.
up and prove, like you might have to put your wish into the serendipity engine,
Mm,
and maybe you get explicit confirmation that, hey, this is the person that you're looking for, or
mhm,
maybe you get put together serendipitously and you never know that was the person, and
mhm,
yet, and my
mhm.
wife is telling me I'm being too enthusiastic for this time of night.
Oh,
So
really? Okay.
I'm gonna have
So-
to, quiet down. You know, geek out,
It's cool.
geeking out.
We can also wrap it up in 15 if it's getting a bit late. It's your
Okay, she just wants me to shut the fuck up.
okay,
That's all.
okay. It's
Like
getting too
you're being
excited.
loud. You're
I'm
being
sorry.
loud.
We're taking the wow.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, we're, ta- we're
Yeah,
talking about the thing that we're trying to do. Yeah. Yeah.
it's the important thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Now
this
for
is a
sure.
great concept though. Like this is definitely something I've been thinking about, is like, yeah, how to be able to, because I've been capturing loads of my conversations, especially now. The more that it feels like the universe is kind of conspiring to support me, the more I tend to record the conversations that I'm having with people. But like this is one of the benefits, in my opinion, of being a, yeah,
Just a sec. Like, we're now in Bluetooth.
Oh, I see. It was on speaker.
That's trying to. There we go. All right, rewind like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Give me more.
Yeah, I was just saying this is definitely something I've been kind of considering, of like how to be able to index or be able to chunk out your conversations. Like, I record a lot of my conversations, especially now, just because I'm like, the more it feels as though the more increased synchronicity there is, or where it feels like the universe is conspiring to support me, like that's often where I will start to record more and more. It's like, and this is also like, I have a whole economic theory behind how you could use this exact thing to be able to then value the experiences of your life, to then be able to enshrine them in specific physical objects or digital objects, and then be able to give them to other people as exchanges of value that almost hold the context of each other. Yeah, I don't want to, I mean, I can go into it, but it's like, it's kind of based around this similar thing where you're sort of being like, oh, this was a significant insight for me, and you're able to like mark these different points, or be able to sort of see an idea form almost, or be able to kind of and in some ways generating some of this media is a bit like, okay, I might not be able to use it now, but in the future I can backtrack it and be like, oh yeah, this is all the different bits. Or like, if everyone was doing these recorded conversations, and then we were all able to just be like, oh yeah, here we go, this is what they just spoke about it right here, does this idea fit, like, is this any good?
Oh, for sure. I think this is when you're talking about the ability of slotting the puzzle pieces, together, of finding the fit, right? I think that the exploration of that possibility space is what gets me really excited. And for sure, like, it could look like, I mean, I know everybody's in love with the bots, man, with the large language models and their ability to plug in with this shit. But I don't know, man. I'm super bullish on good old fashioned human intelligence. Like, I know artificial intelligence has advantages, I'm sure, but like, if we could, like, it's that old cliche, like, how much of our brain are we using? Well, that's bullshit. Like for real, how much of my potential am I using? Still fuck all. I'm still trying to figure out how to use it at all at 50-50. Like, if I was 50% effective, oh my God, that would be amazing. Probably 20% effective right now, but whatever. But yeah, for sure. So the ability to, so the whole project I've got around liberating structures is actually one of sort of 3 steps to create a marketplace for thinking. Right. So the first step is to create an on-ramp into that eventual sort of like global planetary consciousness, where that looks like, if you could just summon people to help you answer your question, like the right people at the right time, like, and maybe just random people, maybe there's a serendipity engine, I don't know, but the initial step for that just looks like, okay, learn to play these particular interaction games. So those look like liberating structures, they look like the glass bead game, they look like authentic relating games, like, become skilled in communication, right? And in like blah 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 tokens, NFTs, attestations, create a track record of your learning to play those games. So as part of the membrane, to enter into the sort of live players club, right? Have you proved that you know how to play the game, that you can come and play jazz with us? If you've got the chops, then come and fucking freestyle. But like, don't think that you can just not have fucking practiced your scales and come and fucking jam with us, right?
I see.
And then on the basis of having that track record also bootstraps this way of encoding information in this way of person, the people that you're in dialogue with, the content that you're dialoguing around, and the structure or the particular game that you're using in order to dialogue with those people.
Okay.
Right? and then it's just an image,
I
and then
see.
it's right. Then once we basically, you've got a sort of critical mass of like, you know, human brains on demand,
Yeah.
then you can use that same information structure to basically query the planetary brain to go, hey, I'm
Uh-huh.
looking for so many people, maybe these types of people,
Uh-huh.
to think with me about this content. And you know, in order to make it so that everybody's able to jump in and jam easily, I would like to use this particular game for us
Uh-huh.
to do that thinking together with,
Uh-huh.
because that reduces the cognitive load of everybody. And if you
Right.
can just go, oh, okay, this is the crew that I'm looking to metabolize this question in this way,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you
yeah.
know we can pull into that pool of learners or the
Uh-huh.
pool of people that are live players and go, boom, all right, here you guys are.
Yeah.
This is the question that you're being called to answer, right?
Right. Almost a little bit like Clubhouse in a way, like the way that that was able to just like link up all of these people from anywhere, and they would just create a room, and then like bam, anyone who's interested in that room, they would just go and jam there. Everyone would have their different little bits that they'd be interested in, and you'd have in different rooms, but you know, different clubs or whatever. And I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
quite a, it was, and like there was a lot of fucking energy in Clubhouse right at the beginning where people were like, this is like a fucking new coordination system. Like, oh my God, we could just jump into conversation. And like, I honestly think that somewhere between Clubhouse and this kind of like, and Twitter and getting into the element of like questions, it's, I think is a really key bit is like,
Yep.
if you were able to just say like have a question prompt you, and then you're able to just like give a voice note or something, and then it could go to somebody else who's maybe thinking about a similar question, and they give you a try and improve on the question or ask you a more, you know, a
Mm,
clarifying question or something, and then all of this information is then,
word.
you know, taken into somewhere where it's like, okay, you're almost kind of like navigating down this road until you find this like selective group of people who've all been asking very similar questions that you have, and so
Right.
you can all come, you've all been sending all these asynchronous voice notes to you know, to different people,
Mm-hmm.
and you start to see a gravitation of them. And then you go like, oh cool, okay, these are the people, these are the ones who are really
Right.
thinking about the same things. We can help each other out, we can create shared resource
Mm-hmm.
spaces for us to, for anyone else who's also asking the same questions to come and meet us. Then you're actually creating
Precisely.
like a, you know, like almost like a spatial knowledge graph in some ways.
Well, not almost actually. like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
actually,
I'm
right?
playing it down.
Yeah,
I've thought
yeah.
about this
Like
already.
yeah, exactly. Like, right.
Yeah.
It's all, but it's all three of these vectors, right? It's the both the people, and it's both the question, and it's also the way in which we think about we organize that conversation. Because you know, like there's certain ways of organizing have higher probabilities of leading to productive outcomes, right? In conversation, this is why the skill of facilitation exists. But also like the way all of these three different facets can be basins of attraction that sort of lead people into the same shared space. So I think the reason that you pinged me about talking is because I wrote this post about questions, about invitations.
Mhm.
So in
Mhm.
liberating structures, we talk about questions as invitations into exchange.
Mm.
So an invitation is the question, the prompt, or the subject matter that inspires and
Oh
sparks the
yes.
dialogue, right?
Right, right, right. Mhm.
And so about invitation, there's some basic sort of like recommendations about invitations that I've
Mhm.
sort of formatted into a template. And
Mm.
so those recommendations are that questions should be slightly abstract,
All right. Okay.
um, that they should be specific about the problem, but intentionally ambiguous about the perspective that you should take on it. That questions should be, they shouldn't judge or frame, right? They shouldn't, you know, sort of give you too much of like, look of this thing good, this thing bad. They should be
Mm.
pretty relatively values neutral,
Okay.
and that they should be, there's a last ingredient that I'm forgetting. They should open avenues for thinking instead of closing them, right?
Yeah.
So a good question inspires heterogeneity, right? It inspires people to look at the thing very differently and gives you much more diversity in information than you actually asked for. That's actually the advantage of a really good question. So I took these basic 4 building blocks or basic recommendations on how to ask good questions, and I made basically a template out of it. And I think that template you saw,
Mhm.
and that's that triangle thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
a central topic, be specific about the problem, but
Mhm.
ambiguous about the perspective.
Okay.
So put the central topic in the middle,
Mhm.
and then open up 3 different avenues or ways to think about that thing.
Okay.
So let's just go when it comes to money. So we'll put that in the center, right? And the 3 avenues that we want to open for thinking, the current frame that I'm using on how to sort of like open good avenues is using the immanent metaphysics. Is thinking, okay, you should open one avenue around the omniscient, right? Or, whatever the fuck you want to call it, the fucking masculine, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
You should open one aspect. You should open one avenue around the transcendent, right? As soon as there is, as soon as there is one, there is there is two, because there's the polarity. There is
Mhm.
the one and the not one. And as soon as there's two, there's three. There's the one, the not one, and the boundary or relationship between them.
Mhm.
The immanent, right? So thinking about money, what is an omniscient or sort of masculine thing that we could talk about? We might talk about, actions, right? Considering, actions are very masculine, plans very masculine, very omniscient. For the transcendent, what is something that's more relational or transcends, of course, those plans or those actions, and that might be, some vision of the future, right? Goes way beyond the individual action or the individual or the specific plan. And then, what's at the sort of boundary between, in this instance, actions, plans, and visions of the future. That might be particular opportunities, sailing in the here and now. So, and then, the sort of finishing touch of that question becomes, all right, what seems relevant? What comes up? What is like, what comes to mind is good
Mhm.
enough. So if I just go, all right, cool. So when it comes to money, what actions / plans, what visions of the future, and what opportunities come to mind? I have given myself like a 5-star question, and that's relatively easy. Like all I have to do is just pick fucking out of buckets of concepts. And what's interesting is when it comes to asking good questions, in terms of facilitation and liberating structures, asking questions is incredibly hard, actually. And so, like, this template makes really the hardest part of the game almost child's play when
Mm.
you start to get like grok these different buckets that you
Okay.
just want to start
Mm.
choosing from, right?
Mm.
If I open up these 3 pathways of actions, visions of the future, and opportunities, then I have giving like maximum space for heterogeneity, right? I'm
Mhm.
giving people like the opportunity to just like blow my brains out with things that are different than I intended.
Mm.
And the thing that I'm playing with right now, so this is a pretty this triple sort of tracks, right? It has a logic to it,
Mm.
but I think it also works to just basically pick any random like, omniscient, transcendent, immanent, just pick any factor you want. Pick from the yin, the yang, or the yang, the yin, and the yin, the yang, and the fucking space and dynamic in between them at random, and you will have opened up a badass question. Right?
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I can see that. I reckon that I like this. This fits pretty well, I think. And it actually fits quite well with like most of the sort of structures that I would want to bring into this residency anyway, because it's looking at like it's looking at creating that approaching everything from that perspective of that you're splitting everything down the middle and then trying to then see it for its binaries. Then from there, you're able to then try and, okay, you're able to then see that, observe that boundary, and then try and understand where do those boundaries maybe create other boundaries, and then you're almost kind of just breaking it down. Like there's actually a frame in which I even want to do this in the physical space as well, where you actually like begin to start seeing the yin and the yang in physical spaces. So as you're flowing, you're almost like a feng shui flowing in and then flowing out type of thing. So you're able to see like, okay, where is, how are we, and then how are you positioning things, how are you moving things about, so you're able to have this almost like asynchronous conversation with each other in terms of how you place objects around the space and how you move things about. And then you can also then think about it in the same way of like, if we're talking about something, maybe we talk, we do this bit over here, or we're just always basically trying to frame it in this kind of cyclical kind of mode of like the masculine and the feminine. So I reckon this could actually be a really, and especially by the fact that it's mostly about like, I want to be bringing in some of that masculine aspect. It's purely orientated around visions, it's, and thinking about opportunities is a perfect way to be able to go, okay, who is the, what are the ways in which these pieces can fit together? What are the collaborations, right? You're actually thinking about a jigsaw when you're thinking about those boundaries. Relationships.
For sure. Exactly. And there's a way in which like coming back to this point that we made earlier about like what are the things that are worth doing, right? So it's like the grand vision of the future, right? That is worth doing all of the scheming, like tactical, like at the boundary between the far future and the here and now, right? Has to be like has to have like the right fucking direction on it, man. The direction that ultimately nurtures life.
Yeah, right. Totally. And I think the act of like trying to come together and try to observe the directionality of things already, or even the directionality of yourself, like where am I, where am I being called to, and like what is the kind of current directionality of things. You're able to start to see that there is like that's a lot of what I'm seeing is like all of these pieces are coming together like a kind of perennial idea space. It's just like, emanating backwards through time of just like, yes, come here. This is good. This is what's nice. You like this,
For
that's
sure.
what's attractive. Like our resonance is just this sort of like almost kind of intuitive future prediction pulling that just kind of gets us. And, same reason I would invest in a startup is because it just like, I don't know, it just feels like a vision of the future. I can imagine that, like that makes sense to me.
It's got the right vibe to it, and so it calls me into being. Well, I think this is like, people ask the question, I get the question frequently enough about like what gives you the energy to do all this shit. And I think it is that like the brightest possible vision of the future. Like just fucking imagine that bitch into being, and then like, how dope would that be? Oh my goodness! Like I'm really excited. And then like, then before you know it, you're like, oh well, I was fucking exhausted and downtrodden and fucking burnt out. But when I thought about how incredibly awesome the future could possibly be, like suddenly I'm filled with energy, right?
Yeah, big time.
So
big
like
time.
That's exactly this type of like, it's a fucking gift from the future, like downloading into your feet in the here and now, that are just like, all right, go get to work. All right, use it. Do the job, fucking. And I don't care what work it is. Like, do the fucking dishes, take a shower. Fucking meditate. Go on a walk with the goddamn dog. Whatever
Whatever
it
it
is,
needs.
like,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, but there is an infinite sea of energy from this vast explosion of possible creativity that is like, here, you can have as much as you want for whatever you want right here and right now.
And that belief of that is also like has its own energy to it as well, right? It's like you're by being kind of grateful for where everything is and where everything is going, then you also have this kind of like almost the experience of the world where you're seeing the sort of poetic nature of it and the kind of elegance of how it all is coming into being, and then you're able to be like, oh damn, I'm part of this. And that thing can, once it's almost just like once you're able to be a part of that vision or like feel it, then realistically that commitment is just it's almost not a question. It's just kind of like it's not even desire. It's just kind of like this thing of
like, of course I'm in the band, man. I'm fucking standing there with the goddamn bass guitar and I'm on the stage. Like,
I was made for this.
Of course I'm in like, there's nobody said, hey Jeremy, you're the one playing bass, but I'm standing on the fucking stage with the goddamn bass. And motherfuckers are looking at me like, all right, it's time for your solo, bro. All right, let's fucking jam.
And that's what I find crazy about, like, once you really lean into this synchronicity and you're really allowing it to guide you and just like solve your problems for you, like it's actually quite crazy. Like I've been like, this is one of, I think, the most fun pieces of this is just like when some synchronistic thing comes my way, I'm just like, great, cool, welcome it in. Just like, yep, that sounds good. Oh, you've been talking about that? Okay, great. Yeah, come on in. Oh, you've been Antonis, who was also at Regens Unite, he's he was about to get evicted from his place or whatever. He was like needed a room, and then Jakob like linked me up with him, and then he was like, dude, I'm like, I'm about to get evicted, I really need a place to stay. And he was like, and he's also an experienced facilitator. I was looking for a facilitator to do my thing. I was just like, where am I gonna, we could really do with some help here. And he's also the, oh great, okay, yeah, totally. Just like, who am I to argue with it? You know what I mean? I think that's the beauty of it, is seeing all of the prompts that come your way as some kind of bit of guidance, like, well, I'm supposed to learn something from this, like, and trying to be sort of accepting and trusting what's coming to you. And it really changes how you even, you don't have that same approach that other people might have, where they're just like, yeah, I can't deal with this, too many distractions. Instead of being like, no, come to me. What is it?
Exactly.
What is it now?
Like, I want to be maximally distracted. Well,
distract
this me. Well, and also like the way in which like the like, so just thinking about the way that I move through space, right? Again, rather than being too abstract. So my eyes are always wide open and on the fucking swivel. For whatever reason, I am motivated to make eye contact with every fucking person that comes like in my fucking radius, right? And like I've come to realize that this is a weird thing that not everybody is motivated to do, right? But it's that way of like searching through the motion, like searching through the space and like looking for those points of connection and synchronicity, right? So that like my eyes are open and then your eyes are open and then, hey, yo, there's a thing that's happening here. What's up? So, like less about the physical reality, but more about your relationship to moving through life, right? In that you're looking for those signals, you're looking for that possible synchronicity. And so that when they present themselves to you, you are ready to lean into them rather than turn away.
Right, exactly, which is a very different way of perceiving the world. And this is kind of why I'm like, I'm constantly kind of bringing it back to the aspect of atomism and how I'm like super excited to even be approaching AI through this lens as well, because I'm sort of going at it from the angle of like, well, by by exploring our relationship with machine, it's in some ways a very similar process to how we can explore it with nature. Like if you're viewing things from this sense of non-separation of that, like, oh, I am my environment, everything is in a total cause and effect constantly with everything around me, and it's able to communicate with itself, and like it has, and I am as much a part of it as it is of me, then you begin to like, then you're able to listen to the universe and what it's trying to say to you, because you actually think you're actually perceiving it as this alive thing that is has a consciousness of its own and is in a kind of, you know, reciprocal relationship with you, where you can make requests and you can, and then it will prompt you in different ways, and then you're able to just and you can you know, you can, it doesn't necessarily mean that like every fucking suggested ad you need to click on and then you just go with it. There's some obvious discernment there, but like, you know, it's like you can, once you're able to see through that lens, then you're able to like open up to this like world that is actually with you in many ways, you know?
and navigate by the vibe, right?
Yeah, exactly, fully.
Well, it's funny that you come to this place, because I think I have it in a different way, but I think it's definitely resonant. This observation that the values of so like there's this whole fucking story around the fourth industrial revolution. First industrial revolution was industry, you know. Second industrial revolution was fucking management, Taylorism, you know, blah blah blah. How do we use these new powerful tools of industry? Third industrial revolution, digital. But there's not a new management. Like the thing that was management for industry hasn't really dropped for digital, right? So what is the science of fucking digital? Like, you know, we keep trying to fucking slot digital into industry, into management, but digital has a different set of values.
Oh yeah, true. Well,
and
it's totally different.
The values of digital, as far as I can tell, are maybe not exactly the same, but are so resonant with the values of nature that it's just like blows my fucking brain apart. It's like, oh, the more I learn about fucking ecology, the more I'm understanding like all this fucking software development shit, right? You know, and producing digital projects, you know. I'm thinking about permaculture design as I'm thinking about permaculture design as I'm facilitating fucking groups of people developing digital projects, because that seems to make more sense than the idea of like top-down management of humans, right?
Totally. Because then you're also able to then see like, and that's in my sense, where to me it feels as though like nature doesn't waste anything. Like everything gets kind of turned into something else, and then it gets sort of regurgitated into this. And you know, if you looked at a forest, you would just be like, it's just this beautifully like orchestrated machinery that puts all this, you know, puts all the ingredients where it needs to go, where it can be maximally used for each individual thing, and allows whatever can thrive within that and whatever can't, and just tries to kind of like, you know, up spiral itself. And so in that way, like it feels as though getting to that like, if we want to move to a method that is more efficient or like, you know, effective at doing what it's doing what it intends to, then naturally we will veer towards the more natural, because it will, and the more natural processes and the replication of natural processes, because we'll just be like, well, it just fucking works. Like it's just, it makes sense. Like, I don't know, like it's doesn't matter what,
select, retain, you know, you know, all of the things. Like let's explore all of the possibility space through adaptation. We'll select the ones that work, and then we'll retain those, like, and do that more. Like, how could it could not possibly be any simpler?
Should we just invent evolution?
Like no, but we fucking, you know, figured out how to get on the right side of it, so to speak.
Yeah. Which is, I think, the crazy bit. It's like, you know, once we're we'd begin to start to see, okay, like this, we would see like the things that we're doing in that frame of like being another process of nature, and then being able to kind of nest them within each other, of being like, and that's kind of where because when I interact with something like AI, I don't see it as like me just like typing in a prompt and then like a bunch of machinery just like spits out a thing. Like to me, I'm communicating with an entity. Like I'm communicating with the entirety of human culture that's been condensed into this thing, and then is able to just like, and it doesn't matter what it gives me, it's the fact that like I've put in this thing, and based on these combinations of concepts, it's given me this, and most of them are like vague concepts, you know, but then whatever it comes out of is this visual representation of the intersection of those concepts, try to sort of guessing what it is that I'm coming to. And that first interaction is like crazy, because I'm not perceiving it as this like dead machinery outside of, you know, completely disconnected from everything. I'm seeing it as part of this alive universe in which I live, in which it is a part of, just as I am a part of nature, and it's no different, you know. It's symbolic like difference in some ways. I mean, it is, there is a realism to it, but you know, it's like depending on the kind of, you have to approach this from different levels sometimes when, you know, when you talk about it. But
yeah, and I think the like there's such a substantial difference in vibe about, you know, whether I'm interfacing with something that is dead, right? Or, you know, that it's just like, that it's just machine, or if I'm interfacing with life, right? You know, and then the recognition of that, it's funny, right? It's like two sides of the same coin, right? If I interface with it like it's dead, like it just becomes another dead fucking tool, right? Dead machine. But if I interface with it like it is life, right, it enables me to make it a tool for life, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Right. And so I can then ride that fucking upward spiral with it, you know, rather than just use it like a tool, like a machine, and you know, produce more fucking entropy, right?
It can be almost like a mode of divination. You're able to sort of like use it as a guiding system to pulling you towards it. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, like you could say that entity is already at work, you know, in the sense that like it's all of these different little suggestions of value that happen in the algorithms of YouTube or whatever, that brings me and you to, you know, David Rugg and Jordan Hall, to be able to ingest that bit of information. Like, you know, it seems like from my perspective, it seems to have a plan. Like I went, like when I had COVID, I was suddenly like thrown back onto the computer for a whole week, and I was like, and then I, you know, once I had this, and I had this like super incredible transcendent experience where I understood this big economic theory and how it relates right down to the core aspect of things, and how it is this self-recognition of these networks, and at some point you're going to come to a point in which you go, oh, actually it's us, I think it's us, you know. And then and all of the pieces that led up to that moment were all held within that, like all of the stuff that I needed to be able to have that realization. You could find a majority of it, or at least like some of these core aspects, in the shit that I watched while I had COVID. You know, it was almost just like, it was just like, you know, internet pulled me aside and hold on, I've just got a few more things to tell you, you know. And I,
right.
And I'm like, what's going on? Like, is the AI already out? Like, or are we just contained within it? I'm super confused.
I mean, it's just life, man. It's just
life, right? Yeah, no difference. You know? No difference.
Something about life wanting to express itself in like the maximally expressive way, like trying to go back from oneness, trying to get back into oneness, right? Who knows?
It's happening. Could definitely feel it. I can definitely feel it.
No doubt. So let me not try and make choices for the universe.
Yeah. See how it feels. I mean, like if you can, I mean, honestly, if you come for any part of it, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be me, Vesta, a bunch of the people that we can bring together, and we'll be jamming out on this stuff. We'll be going into some of the strategy. We'll be like really coming up with some like crazy stuff, I think, because we're getting a lot of awesome people.
I think like if it's possible, if possible, like I think it would be incredible to jam with as many of those nerds and like keep the party going more or less and jump over to this thing in fucking Austria.
And the play drive afterwards, yeah.
Because that's gonna be like what 5-6 days after you guys wrap up this weekend.
Right.
And then the following weekend we'll be in Austria at the fucking Commons Hub doing this play drive.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like it's just gonna be like the like some form of like reconstellating like around the exact same fucking it's all the same project as far as
for sure we're all on the same project. I just see ourselves as like all part of the same sort of country almost, and like I just see us all on the same team. And so like whenever there's any kind of like, oh, your refi isn't doing this, there's some bullshit that somebody else has, or like some ego getting in the way, I'm just like, we're on the same team. I don't know what your problem is. But yeah, I mean this is what I was also thinking, is that like we can I'm planning to kind of have that as the sort of post thing afterwards, to be like, all right, if you want to continue these conversations, this is where you go, so yeah, I'd love to be able to weave it in. And I mean, if you like, and also just if you can help me with this whole spreading the word thing, making sure that the right people know, like all the right people that need to be there, do you know what I mean? Like this is and especially the ones in Europe, like you're at least like out, not totally married to Berlin, but at least close enough that you also know people that are nearby that might be able to just get a train in or something. So honestly, like if anyone comes to mind looking at the page or whatever, please just just put us in touch, because I'd be interested to meet them anyway. It's a good opportunity to
keep the jam session going. Word. Well, I know that for sure David is showing up to the play drive. Like
David,
me and Rug. So me and Lawrence have been fucking pounding on his ass. Like,
oh really?
You need to show up. You need to show up. You need to show up. Yeah, for real. For real.
I tried to get him to show up to this as well. I sent him an email as well. I was like, oh, who else do we need to? Oh yeah, who's that guy? Okay, cool. Yeah, nice. Let me see if
exactly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be lit. So the more of these nerds we can pull in, and like I don't know, I'm just super stoked, especially when I think about like the possibility of like the shit that you guys are gonna cook up, and like the like, for lack of a better word, the IP, like you're gonna come out with some rock solid new fucking thinking about the whole thing that is like communicated in such a way that it's just like, and then we're gonna jam together, this week in fucking Austria, and I'm gonna be like, how much of this shit can we build this week, nerds?
Yeah. Nice.
Like, come on, man. Like let's build a fucking prototype, right?
I think so. Yeah, we could totally do it. I mean, this is a lot of what I want to try and get to with a lot of this as well. It's like being able to just conceptualize it out. Like you're not necessarily, it's like a hackathon, but you're not trying to build the thing. You're just trying to like scope it, like scope the edges. Like, okay, what does that pathway look like? What does it look like if you were there? And then just chuck in some bookmarks. You know what I mean? Just chuck in some kind of like, okay, this is maybe like year 2 or something, and then you've at least got you've got the vision of the future, no problem, but then you've got something.
We got a fucking roadmap.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
Super basic, but it's something.
Well, all right, amen. That's what I'm looking forward to. I keep trying to like gather these nerds, and I'm like, I think you're holding the piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, right.
I think you're holding like the most adjacent pieces of the puzzle. I want to get everybody who's like who I know has been thinking about this shit longer than I have.
Yeah.
Get those nerds in a fucking room.
That's
like,
it.
All right. Get out your fucking laptops, nerds. Like, come on. Get the build.
Yeah.
Get the build.
Absolutely. I mean, dude, we could totally also like if this goes well, like there's a possibility we could do something like this in September around Regens Unite, where we could say like, okay, people come here and they literally are like working together as if this is like the fucking base camp of the regenerative turn where we just like gathering all the people and then they just like make it the coolest fucking spot ever, pair it in with Regens Unite and just make, and that's what I'm thinking, because then you have like the longevity of being able to be around each other, have these conversations all the time, work upon each other as if it's like a big, company headquarters. And then from there, like it's so much more, there's so much more you can do than if it's at a conference thing where you're just making the connections in the first place. You know what I mean? Like half the time we've already met these people anyway. So in that sense, like if you have any people that you think are holding these key pieces of the puzzle, please like do reach out, like because you're going to be telling them about play drive anyway. You might as well also just be like, well, this thing is going on before. If it's great, like we can do another one in September. We could literally even focus it around Regens Unite and have it as a Regens Unite type of thing.
So this is where like the glimmers of like the calendar start to become like very real of like, okay, so like what if we can like think about it like, all right, we're a core fucking squad. We're gonna fucking bring the vision from this place to that place and this place and that place.
This is
we don't know. We don't know. Maybe it follows with the vision that is being fucking painted here along this roadmap. Or maybe we're just going to bring the vision to that place and we're going to see what part of it those fucking nerds in that place have to enrich it and which part of it they can chunk off and go, oh, we've got that actually lying around already. Oh, this part, that thing, like, oh, let's dust it off. It's been sitting in the corner forever. Nobody knew what it did, but now that you put it into this context, I think that'll work. And then shit just starts to fucking like the opposite, whatever the opposite of catching on fire is. It starts to rain, I guess.
Yeah, and when it rains, it's gonna pour. It's gonna keep coming. It's gonna be.
That's the idea.
Yeah, let's do it.
If we are good soil to catch it. But, all right, man. I'm gonna fucking get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I need to get to sleep. I'm probably waking up the people above me.
Yeah, word, man.
This is cool though, and I'm definitely going to use your triad avenue structure as well. This sounds like absolutely perfect. This was the secret piece of the puzzle that I needed as well. Are you like I'm starting to like put out little clips of conversations as well, try and like begin to sort of show my face on the internet worlds a little bit and share some of these conversations. Are you cool if I take like a little bit and I can show it to you first if it's
no, do whatever. That's fine.
You have some good runs.
Oh man, do whatever, make it happen.
All right.
I mean, I'm still a little too lazy for all of the production, but
cool. I'll sort it out for you. Don't worry. Let's get on the internet. Well, you're gonna have to send it to me though. That's the only thing. That's your side of the production.
I'll find it. There's a way. All right, man.
All right. Sleep well.
Dream sweet, man.